Hey good people, welcome back to Beauty in the Frizz. My name is Cara. Whether you're new or returning, thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out with me for another one today. This palette play, I do not want to call it a review, has taken so long, but finally I'm going to be playing with the Minka Palette by Adept Cosmetics. If you are curious about the swatches, it's restocked several times at this point and you want to see a couple of looks, keep watching this video. Let me know what you think. And if makeup is your therapy and your love, if it makes you happy, if you want to stay happy with your makeup collection and you want to hang out with someone that feels the same way, definitely consider joining the community. I'd love to have you back. All right, let's get started. And the reason that I said if you want to stay happy with your makeup collection, it's just a personal thing. I feel like over 2022, I did not have a lot of makeup regrets, but I became very overwhelmed by my makeup collection, which is why I did not get a chance to play with the Minka palette and give it what it deserves, because this was a palette I was really looking forward to from Adept Cosmetics. And I want to be happy with my collection. I don't want to be overwhelmed. I don't want to have anxiety. I want to use what I want, enjoy what I want, enjoy what I have. And so I had to add that in the intro because we're going to have vigilant eyes in 2023 and I want to be held accountable for that. So do not hesitate to call me out. I am here for it because I'm growing and learning and I'm an enthusiast just like most of you who watch this channel. No type of expert at all. All right, y'all. So Adept came out with the Minka palette months ago at this point and was sneak peeking it sometime before that. And I was really excited. So I am so happy to be able to showcase this palette today. So let's just do it. I mean, I can't see. This palette is blindingly beautiful. Let me get up close and turn this exposure down because we're not going to be able to really understand. Here we go. Hi, look how beautiful this is. These shimmers are something else, okay? I will say that. Now, I do believe the Minka palette is $57. It has some incredible shimmers. I will say that because I've already done the swatches and then the two matte shades. Let's just go ahead and get into these swatches. All right, you guys, let's get into these swatches. This is going to be my first time swatching the palette, although I have used the palette already to create a look. I think I need to turn this exposure down so we can have some accuracy. Okay, so we're gonna start with Minka, Emma, and Ava. Oh, look how shiny these are. And these feel like wet. This shimmer formula feels different than some of the shimmer formulas that I'm used to with Adept. So let's zoom in here and you can see that they have some high shine. And to me, I don't know if these are my favorite. I don't know, it's too soon to tell, but these are really glittery. Like the shine is unreal, but like the way this one feels, this one, Ava, it feels like a glitter. All right, let's go to the next shades. So next we have Layla, Maya, and Toya. So here's Layla, Maya, and the first matte is Toya, which is not swatching really well. Let me grab it again. All right, so I just did about 3 passes with Toya. All right, here is our first row. All right, going into the second row, we have Luna, Nora, and Cora. Okay, so we have Luna. It's another wet feeling shimmer. Nora and Cora. The last 3 shades are Linda, Selena, and Maria. So Linda and Selena, these are like the real smooth multi-chromes that I'm used to from Adept. And then we have our other matte. So here's Linda and Selena and Maria. And let's swatch this matte one more time. Now here are the swatches of the whole palette, and I still have 2 more looks to create at this point, but I'm not sure if these are going to be my favorites. I do really like the high shine. I kind of am feeling more of this portion of the palette, so we will have to see. I did just turn off the lights here so you can just see how shiny these shades. I did turn off the lights so you can see how shiny these shades are. And these are a bit thick. Like, you see this right here? So yeah, be careful because these have some bigger flakes in them. Hi, Marky.
Can we buy it?
Can I buy what? I'm not buying anything. So y'all saw the swatches and you heard a little bit of commentary as I was swatching it for the first time. I wanted to leave that in because I like to be authentic. This shimmer formula for Adept seems to be a little bit different than what I am used to. The shimmers in this area of the palette to me were super thick. Very, very impactful though. If you like impactful shimmers, blinding shimmers, you may have to tone down these shimmers. You definitely get that with this palette. I think my favorite part of the palette is this bottom row here, where I have more of a mix of their traditional, seemingly traditional shimmer formula, as well as some very smooth duochromes, multi-chromes, and then we have the 2 mattes. Now, when this palette was sneak peeked, I don't think I would have guessed that these would be the mattes that were in the palette. I was personally hoping for something brown, and that's just my own personal preference, but I have no issues with Adept's matte formula at all and have plenty of shades that I can reach out and use with this palette. So very, very excited. Let's go ahead and get into 2 looks with this palette. Actually, we're gonna do 3 looks, and I'm gonna reach into the Heather Austin palette by Adept Cosmetics to create the 2nd and 3rd look. So let's get into that now. All right, you guys, I'm really excited to finally get into a look with Minka. I got my Nightmare Before Christmas ears on today. Let's go into the shade Toya with a Bristles Beauty EO1 DL blending brush. I feel like I've had this palette forever. And I'm excited about doing this palette right before my ranking because my friend Jamie, her channel is I Am Jamila, she was not a huge fan of the Adept mattes. I think they did reformulate the mattes, but I'm trying to think. My first Adept palettes were Plain Jane and Ninhydrin. Then Codon. Plain Jane didn't have any mattes. Ninhydrin had 2, and I just cannot remember how they performed. And then Codon, like, I don't recall having anything to say. Now this is like really, really cool tone, like really cool tone and bright. So we're gonna have to get into the other matte. We're gonna get into Maria. I'm gonna just try to cover this up and really just have this Toya shade kind of peeking out over the top, if that makes sense. And maybe just mostly cover up with shimmer. Anyway, I can't remember when Adept reformulated the mattes. I don't know if it was during the Amunet palette launch. I'm just not sure. So I just wanted to be able to speak about these mattes. Yeah, so I'm just going to be placing Maria in the crease, and I'm gonna really try to cover up this base shade. I am really trying to get used to cool looks, but I do have a hard time with liking them. Now, so far so good with the mattes. Like, the blend is great. I am not having a problem at all. I'm trying to think, the last Adept palette I used was House of L, I think. It might have been House of L or Amunet. So both of those are great. And this is a really nice blend. Like, these 2 shades, they look really nice together. And I'm gonna try to build up this purple just a little bit more. I was a bit intimidated by it, so I went in really light. And this fluffy brush is really, really good. Like, especially if you have like really deep shades that you wanna try to diffuse out. This one is really fluffy. So I do like this brush a lot. All right, so I love how that looks. We're gonna go right into the shimmers. I haven't swatched this palette yet, but these shimmers look fantastic. I just don't even know where I wanna go. I have like no direction here. What a predicament. So my thoughts are to pick a light shimmer and then go into a shimmer that's gonna blend nicely with this purple. Maybe a multi-chrome shimmer like Linda. I think I wanna go into Linda. And there's what it looks like. I think that's gonna blend so beautifully with this purple. Let's just see. Yeah, I love this. Very deceiving in the pan. Yeah, that looks really good. And we're just gonna leave it there. So I want something like really bright on the inner part of the eyelid. I don't even know like if this looks as special on camera as it does like in the mirror. It's really subtle, really smooth. Just gonna take a bit of Maria, that purple, and just kind of dab it on the end of the shimmer there so that it blends nicely together. And now I want to get into something else. I think I want to go into Maya. And this one has some bigger chunks, really textured. I feel like this is a really like glam shade. It looks really nice on the eye though. If you tap it in, I think you'll be good, like regarding any type of fallout. Like just really tap it. Yes, I think that looks really, really nice. That's what we're working with. For the lower lash line, I'm gonna go back into two mattes. So I'm gonna do Maria on the outer eyelid or lower lash line. And then I'm gonna use Toya on the rest of the under eye. I just wanna get it close to the lower lash line and really join it with the outer corner. I'm gonna do that on the other side as well. Then back into Toya, which was our initial transition shade. I'm gonna just sweep that under the rest of the under eye. Okay, so here's what we have. And now all we need is an inner corner. Point. Oh, choices. Thinking about the shade Cora. I think Cora is gonna be a really nice contrast because it's warm. And I'm gonna just take this Morphe lip brush. I'm just gonna try a little bit because I'm not sure. This one, let's see. Oh no, I think it's gonna be good. This one, if you spray it, it'll really adhere. This one has some bigger chunks that are falling out. But I'm just taking a really tiny amount on my brush. I don't want it to be too much. All right, and here is our look. And I will be back with liner and mascara and thoughts on this one. All right, you guys, back with the finished look. To finish off the look, I used a brown liner from ColourPop on the lower lash line, and then I have on the SHIMMAH Beauty Rubber Lash Mascara. And that's what I did to finish the look. Overall, I really like this cool tone look. I think it looks really nice, and I love the pop of that greeny gold in the inner corner. Didn't have any issues with the palette. I think it looks really nice. And I do like that there's a mix of shimmer formulas here that I see so far. So the multi-chrome shade that I used on the middle and outer part of the lid, that one was really smooth. And then the one that I used towards the inner corner, that one was a bit chunky. So if you don't like a textured lid, this one might not be one that you like, but I am starting to like having a little bit of texture here and there, not all the time, but I think it looks really nice. So I am definitely feeling this look, even though it's cool tone, trying to broaden my horizons here. So yes, to this look. We're gonna get into another one. So I am gonna pull some other Adept palettes to do a couple more looks. All right, you guys, so I do hope that you enjoyed the first look with this palette. I think it came out beautiful, no complaints at all. For the next two looks, I'm gonna do one on each eye, and I am going to go into mattes from the Heather Austin palette. So if you don't have the Heather Austin palette, here it is. Heather Austin did a phenomenal job creating this palette. I pretty much say that every single time, and that when I found out she was gonna be creating a palette with Adept Cosmetics, I knew I was gonna get it. Her color choices, I knew were gonna be on point. So yes, for this, we're gonna go into Atlas. The brush I'm using is from Iggshow. This is an Amazon brand, and it's just a tapered blender. So going right into Atlas. Ooh, did not prime my eyes. Hold on, a mess. All right, we're back. I do have on the MAC Paint Pot in Soft Ochre. Going into Atlas, and I would have been complaining about the shades knowing that I didn't prime my eyes. Just tapping this in and then going back and forth in the transition area as well as in the crease. So yes to this, super easy, and this just makes a beautiful base for the eyeshadow look. Now let's get back into Minka and go into Maria. I do know I used this in the last look, but again, with having two mattes, we're gonna be using the mattes in multiple looks. So I'm just using the same brush into Maria and just swiping back and forth with little quick motions in the crease, and you can just see right there that that's adding a lot of depth into the look. I'm not gonna add any more pigment at this time because looking at it here, you can tell it needs to blend a bit more, and this is great. Now at this point, I honestly cannot remember what shades I used in the first look because it was a couple of weeks ago. It was actually before Christmas break. I really wanna go into Luna, and then I also want to go into one of these smooth duochrome / multi-chrome shades. This shade right here looks like it's going to be really good. Let's go into Luna. Luna feels wet to the touch, but just feeling it, just how it feels, I want to get the door line. Yeah, y'all, so this formula is really impactful. Like, it is very thick. It is creamy wet. I'm concerned about how it will be on my eyes. So here's the door line here. You can see it. It's really wet. And then I'm gonna go into Luna. And if you look at Luna on the brush, you can see that chunkiness that you probably heard me mention in the swatch portion of the video. But when I dip it into the door line, I don't know if you can tell, but it really is liquefying the shade, and I need that. I don't want these big flakes, but I do want the impact of this shimmer, and I think I can do that now. Yeah, like I'm looking at my pants, just even trying to get it out with the brush. Like, see, these are like big chunks, which I'm not used to from Adept, and it's not a bad thing at all. It's just, you know, me learning how to work with different formulations. And now what I'm thinking is, if you want like a wash, you would use a brush like this, because you see that, that's even looking on camera a lot more sparkly and potent than what I'm seeing in the mirror. So if you don't want like super, and I'm making a mess, I will clean this mess up that I'm making, but this is good because it just shows you different ways, because you may look in a eyeshadow pan and be like, oh, I could never wear this to work. Yes, you could. Look at it. Like, this is pretty. But what I'm going to do is go into a shader. So I'm gonna just pick something that's more dense. This is from MSQ, Amazon brush, and I'm making a pretty good dent in Luna. It's a very, very putty shade, and let's see what Luna's gonna look like using a denser brush. So I think my issue is I'm having trouble getting enough of the pigment on the brush, and this doesn't even necessarily make it fussy. I'm just trying to think about, how do I want to use these shades? I don't want to call a look wearable. You know, I don't want to even say that, because the deal is depending on your job. Some people's jobs you can wear what you want, like mine. I can wear bold looks with no issue. So all of the looks I create are wearable. But I know some people want to try color, want to try duochromes or multi-chromes, and they may not need all the shiftiness. But look how beautiful that is. That is a really gorgeous shade. I don't even think it's at its full potential. If I use my finger, let's see, and I'm just tapping it in, what I think would really work for these shades is putting the primer on your eye, because look at that. That's what I should have done from the beginning. These are highly foiled. Going in with these with a brush, even with the door line, I just feel like it's not doing what I want it to do. I know I have fallout on my face, but that's me. That's just how I put the shades on. I'm going into Nora, which is this one here, on my finger. I just think that's gonna work best with these larger particles. And I'm just gonna start by tapping it. I mean, these are super wet, like, and they're so shiny. Like, look at that. And I love these two shades with the brown transition. Like, I would not want to use Toya with this look. I just wouldn't. But this is gorgeous. Very nice. Now, I'm going to finish this look with an inner corner highlight. Once I clean this up, I'm going to go in with Atlas from the Heather Austin palette to finish this look. For the inner corner highlight, I am going to go into Maya, which is this one here. I'm only taking like the slightest bit from the corner of the pan because I did not spray it, but you can already see like this is perfect for an inner corner highlight. You really don't need a lot. If you start taking a lot of pigment from the pan, you are gonna get some really big chunks that you may not want. So that's look number one. Now for this second look, I really wanna go into Mythology from the Heather Austin palette, which is a beautiful mustardy yellow. And I'm gonna just take this on a Melt Cosmetics blending brush. And I think with changing the mattes, there's just so many ways you can go with this palette. So I wanted to show you guys that. And even if you don't have the Heather Austin palette, just pulling out another palette, like that's something I am not good at all. I rarely ever pull out other palettes, combine palettes, but you can really have endless possibilities if you do that. And I am going to try to do that because I like to work on my creativity. I think I'm going to go into Magnolia, which is a green here. And I'm just going to use a light amount of pigment, which doesn't look light, but I'm hoping I can create a nice blend just using what I have here. So just continuing to use this blending brush. This is not bad at all. I can see both colors. So I'm going to leave it like this. I can see Mythology, I can see Magnolia. So we're gonna get back into the Minka, and I want to use one of the smooth multi-chromes. It's gonna be this one here, which is Linda. I'm just taking Linda and putting it all over the lid, which this looks great because this one does have some green in it, so you can pick up on the Magnolia shades really easily. Something just sold on Macari. Yo, I'm not playing. I'm not playing. So there we go with the Linda shade. Looks great. Now what I'm thinking about is actually going into PaO2 from Heather Austin for the outer corner. I know I did use the green, but this needs something else with it. And I think this is going to be really pretty. We should be able to see all of the shades because you can start to see it there on the outer corner. So it is nice to combine palettes, but sometimes I just don't want to, you know what I mean? Sometimes I want to just have everything I need in the palette that I'm using, but depending on my mood, just might not be possible. So this looks good. I like this because I can still see the yellow, I can see the green, I can see this like plummy shade. So I'm gonna go into the inner corner highlight, and I'm wondering if I can use Selena. Will it look too deep? Let's try. Just based on the color flip that's there. I think in certain lights, it's gonna look deep, but no, I think it looks good. Putting it right here on the inner corner highlight. So for the under eye, I'm taking a flat brush and going into Maria just on this outer corner. And this would be a great shade to take as a liner as well. You can see right here how it ties in the top of the eye look and the under eye together. So I'm just gonna leave it like that. Let's just go into Toya, which is the light purple matte for the remainder of the under eye. I mean, it all pulls together really well. Yes. So there's eye look number 2. Here's number 1. I will be back with the finished look. I'm just gonna go ahead and clean this up, and I'll be back to let you know what I am thinking about Minka. All right, you guys, back with the finished look. To finish off the eye look, I used a matte green eyeliner on the bottom lashes, and I did easily clean up the fallout that or the mess that I made with the first look, and I think both of the looks look very beautiful. So let's get into my final thoughts about the Minka palette. I'm not gonna do a bunch of comparisons about Adept's palettes because I think they're all amazing. If I had to choose between this one and the Heather Austin palette, just because I have this one sitting out, I do like the formula of the shimmers in the Heather Austin palette a lot more than the ones from Minka. The shimmers in this palette are really thick. They're wet feeling and they're very creamy, which is good. Like, I'm all about the wet look, the creamy shimmers. They're just not my favorite. I also am concerned, and I haven't worn this look all day or anything like that. You know, I just created it. I'm concerned with me having hooded eyes. Is this look gonna hold up or is it gonna crease? I'm really not sure because I'm gonna be taking this one off. Unfortunately, I have nowhere to go. I'm actually going back to work tomorrow. So this is New Year's Day and it's 7 o'clock. So I'm not at night. So I'm not doing anything to really test this out. Do I love the looks? Yes, I do. I actually do not need to use a lot of the shimmers here. So this palette is really gonna last me a long time. I think for me, less is more. And if I went into these like with full like dipping in and putting it on, I just think it would have been too thick for me, if that makes sense. I would also say using a finger is better with these shimmers, especially the thick ones. And I would say when I say the thick ones, I'm basically talking about all of the shimmers except Linda and Selena. All of the other ones are like putty feeling as well. You can definitely press into them, but the sparkle is different. They're chunkier shimmers, but I still like them. Like, I have no regrets about purchasing this palette. I just have to use it a little bit differently than I use my other Adept palettes. And you can even see, like, you might be able to see, like, I have some of the chunks here on the mirror as well. So this one can be a bit messy. When I tried to use it with the Dior line, I feel like it didn't go the way I wanted it to, and the brush had a lot to do with it. I couldn't pick up what I wanted to, but it's because those pieces were chunky. When I used a flat shader, it worked better, but my finger really worked the best with these shimmers. All in all, this is a beautiful palette. I think it's a beautiful addition to Adept's palette lineup, and I can see why so many people really enjoyed Minka. It is gorgeous. Had I created this palette myself, I again would have done a different shimmer formula. Now, I may have had like 3 of them with this really thick, sparkly glam formula, but the rest of them would have been like this. And I may have kept this purple matte, but I think I would have done a brown. I probably would have just done 2 browns.
Because I don't want to.
You're fine. You're not disturbing me. I probably would have done a light brown like Atlas that's in the Heather Austin, and then maybe a deep brown or more of like the plum. Again, this is another hit for Adept Cosmetics. I'm so excited for what they are going to do this year. I would say if you're on the fence about getting Minka, just think about what I said about the shimmers and think about the type of shimmer formulas that you like, whether you like indie, luxury, mainstream. Do you like sparkly shimmers? Do you like opaque ones? Do you like more sheer ones? And think about, can you make the ones at Minka work for you? I know I can make them work for me with no problem. And it's really all in the tools that you use. If you want to have more of a toppery type shimmer, or a shimmer that's a little less pigmented, not as thick, you're gonna wanna use a brush or put it on your finger and tap it really, really lightly. But if you are here for the I can't see, if you're here for the sparkle, if you're here for the opaqueness, you're gonna wanna go ahead and pack that on and use your finger. They're wet, they adhere really well. And again, the fallout that you saw here was just from how I was applying it. It had nothing to do with the shimmers. The chunks are bigger, the brushes are not as effective. And you probably want to use some type of glitter primer or mixing medium if you want to use a brush. So that's what I have to say about Minka. If you're on the fence, I definitely think it's a beautiful, beautiful palette. So it's not my #1 Adept palette, but it's definitely gorgeous. Like, it's going in with all its siblings in their little Adept bin, and I'm so happy to have this one in my collection. So yes, y'all. Now let me think. Let's be honest here. I know I'm trying it out and it's 2023, but if this palette was coming out now, because I am having a more careful eye, would I buy it? I would have bought it. I would have bought it. I love Adept. I really do. Part of what I like about them are the different shimmer formulas. I just probably would have included less of this type and more of the two smooth ones, because I love smooth shimmers. Like, they're so good. All right, you guys, thank you so much for taking out some of your time and hanging out with me for another one today. And August. Do you have anything you want to say? No? Okay, cool. I hope this...
I'm showing my new phone.
Oh, go ahead.
I did not do that.
I feel like you were a part of that.
I didn't do it on purpose.
I know, but just go ahead and show them your phone. Come on.
Look at the case, too.
We have to clean up. August has his phone. All right. I hope this was therapy for you. It always is for me. And until I see you again, make sure you're being gentle with yourself. Talk to yourself nice. Stay safe. I'm going to clean up these brushes. August is going to help me. And I'll see y'all in the next one. You are. Bye.